Welcome inside episode 601 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, and the vibes remain high because Claude Giroux is an Ottawa Senator.
And we're very excited about the additions this team has made, but there also comes some subtractions along with that, and we say farewell to a good soldier in Connor Brown, who was traded to the Washington Capitals. We'll get into the details of that trade and what it means for the future.
Yeah, lots going on across the hockey world. Day one of free agency. We'll also take a look at who's left to sign. All that coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Thursday, July 14th. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where the best way you can help the show grow is to like the video by clicking the thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment below. Now, another reason too is the live streams that you never know will pop into your feed. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Senators, throw on the notifications, and you'll know when new videos go live. We already did 4 videos about Claude Giroux, Pillsy. Yesterday was a very exciting day to be an Ottawa Senators fan, but the vibes couldn't stay that high throughout. You know, when you add, you got to subtract. You said that in the intro, and we have to say a fond farewell to the old Ginger number 28 in Connor Brown.
Yeah, and that's the thing. No part of me wanted to trade Connor Brown, because as soon as Nick Paul was moved, in my mind, I was like, okay, now we need to lock down Connor Brown, because they need that two-way defensive type player that can bounce up and down the lineup, kill penalties, and be a good veteran guy in the room. And Connor Brown was exactly that. And I mentioned it, he was a good soldier for the Ottawa Senators. He put his body on the line in meaningless games. He worked hard, he blocked shots, he played with a broken jaw one game. Like, he did what he needed to do every day, and he was a big part of why this culture was so good. And he was a leader on this team. He wore an ace. So for him to be moved out for a 2024 second round pick to the Washington Capitals was not something that I celebrated. It wasn't something that I think any Sens fan celebrated. However, we need to keep in mind that the only way this deal makes sense, Ross, is if that second round pick is going to be used to acquire a defenseman. And I believe that is the case, because otherwise, why would you rush to move Connor Brown? Why not just keep him on the roster, maybe increase his trade value and move him at the deadline if you can't keep him or whatever, right? So this clearly is being done to bring in more draft capital, to use that draft capital to acquire a top 4 defenseman. That's the only logical explanation for why that happened yesterday.
We know Connor Brown was not willing to sign an extension at this present time. He's currently making $3.6 million against the cap, but it's $4 million in salary. The Senators didn't have a trade request from him, though. It's not like he was trying to force his way out of town. So they could have kept him as almost a self-rental. But with that $4 million now freed up, it does seem like Dorion's doing a pretty good job of bringing in highly paid guys. Like, they're going to pay Giroux and Alex DeBrincat a total of $16 million just for those 2 players next year. Yep. But then when you move out, what is it, like $5.8 million of Matt Murray's salary, something like that for next season. We know he's making more than his cap hit. And then moving out the Colin White, 2/3 of his contract.
There, that's what you're saving, yeah.
Right,
then
yeah.
Kelly, and you move out. They did one more move. I'm blanking on it now. But, Connor Brown, yeah. So they're moving money to create space. And that's what we wanted this team to do.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a pretty creative way for Pierre Dorion to go about it. And some of it is mopping up mistakes that he made himself. And that's all right, because the summer of Dorion continues. He was giddy like a schoolgirl in that breakaway video behind the scenes of Claude Giroux. Like, as they're walking up to him, he's literally just like prancing. He's not even walking. He's so excited. And I love that. But before we'll get into more Claude Giroux talk, we'll get into the free agent world as a whole. It was an amazing day in the National Hockey League with surprise signings and everything. But it is a somber to see Connor Brown go. He leaves a legacy in Ottawa. Not only is DJ Smith's favorite player of all time, he was the Tom Pyatt to Guy Boucher, was Connor Brown to DJ Smith. He killed penalties like nobody we've ever seen in the last decade here. I believe he led the league in shorthanded goals, not this year, but last. He led the team in goals that year as well in the shortened COVID season. And then this year, at the end of that year as well, set the franchise record, scoring a goal in, I believe, 8 straight games. Just an absolute warrior. So sad to see him go, but you're right. Bigger moves are on the horizon. I'll pull up in a moment as well the projected lineup. Yes, we are at that time of the free agent period where there's been so many moves. It's just going to be a nice little reset here. Nothing set in stone. It's easy to, move names around in a drop of an instant. But we do have just a blank underscore beside Thomas Chabot because we assume that second round pick or maybe the first round pick in 2024. But then they've now solidified having 2 second rounders to offset that loss because I don't think you're getting the quality of player that you're hoping for with just a second round pick. Otherwise, maybe you would have just tried to make it work in a 3-way trade.
And let's be honest, Ross, that first round pick in 2024 is going to be at the end of the first round. So it's basically a second rounder anyways.
There you go. Okay. So we wish Connor Brown well. Obviously had a shorter stint in Ottawa. If you had told me that Nikita Zaitsev was going to outlast Connor Brown in Ottawa when that contract or when that trade happened with Toronto where Cody Ceci came the other way, I would have told you were absolutely crazy. But he finishes his time in Ottawa with 117 points in 191 games, 47 of those goals. So stick taps to Connor Brown. We'll be cheering for him as the Sens abroad. Crazy to think, though, this was the first trade between Ottawa and Washington since 2007. So these two teams don't often do business with one another. And I found it interesting that they chose Washington to make the deal. We know Edmonton had interest, and it seems like if Ottawa is serious about competing for a playoff spot, they might be in a wild card battle with the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, and that's why I was so intrigued that they felt the need to get this done yesterday and that they felt the need to trade within your own conference, especially a team that like Washington, like you mentioned, they're not going to be division leaders. They're going to be right in the hunt for that wild card, which is the team you're competing up against. And the last thing you want to see is them having a great depth player like Connor Brown that's going to be able to shut down your top 6 or at least be effective at it. So it was a really interesting deal, but it's something that I think Pierre Dorion, after he's just firing trades, signings left, right, and center. It's a bit of a heat check and just like, okay, I don't have to get a massive W on this. I know I just need to move on from this because we know Connor Brown's not going to be in the future. We know we need to clear space and we need more draft capital to acquire another roster player. So it's a tidy piece of business that I don't think anyone's really happy about. I'm sure Connor Brown is excited to get a new opportunity in Washington, but I really feel that he felt what was going on here and that he bought into this culture. He was a big part of creating this culture. So I feel like it's probably some weird feelings for him as well. But think about him on a third line in that Washington lineup. Like he's going to help them in the playoffs. So that's a big move for the Washington Capitals and something that, hey, who knows? Maybe he signs an extension there. We'll see.
I know everybody is wondering, well, what was that trade between Washington and Ottawa back in 2007? Well, the Sens acquired defenseman Lawrence Nicolat for Andy Hedlund and a 6th-round pick, a complete blockbuster leading in to the Senators' playoff run. I don't think Lawrence Nicolat played a single game during that playoff run. No, he actually played 1 game for the Ottawa Senators that year, 3 games for them next year. So hopefully the 2nd-round pick, if it does stay in the organization, blossoms a little bit better than the last one they got from the Washington Capitals. All right, so back to the good vibes. Claude Giroux, I mentioned we did a lot of YouTube content of his acquisition yesterday. However, the last time we spoke on this platform, in an audio version at least, he was still unsigned. So let's get into what his acquisition means for the Ottawa Senators. It's also 3-on-3 tournament day at the Sens development camp. We're getting lots of tweets at Sens Central. Boots on the ground. Carter Cannon showing us that he's there. So we absolutely love to see it. Bring that, keep that energy coming. Daniel's shooting us a message. He's there too. So we want all these reports of how the fellas are looking. Speaking of Claude Giroux, Pilsy, you see Tyler Boucher and him in that behind-the-scenes video. That was pretty cool. I guess the connection there with Brian Boucher playing for the Flyers back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler might have been in the position that Gavin Giroux was in, just a little kid walking around with his dad, meeting all these guys around the locker room. So that must have been a bit of a trippy feeling for Claude to be like, holy crap, now I'm introducing my kid to the kids I used to be introduced to.
Yeah, no doubt. And Boucher's a big kid. You can see even standing next to Claude Giroux. So awesome.
He puts the work in the gym, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. By all accounts, he is dominating at development camp. We take the thoughts and analysis of at Sens prospects very seriously. You know, he had boots on the ground too yesterday. The great thread on Twitter. Recommend everyone reading that. And he said Boucher is just head and shoulders, just having an absolute week out there. So let's hope that can continue. All right, Pilsy, before we get back to Claude Giroux, you want to have a quick word from one of our favorite sponsors?
Absolutely. Well, the boys are working hard at Dev Camp, and if they want to be in a spot where they feel like their body is in the best position to battle for a roster spot on the Ottawa Senators, I would recommend for them to take an easy way to help increase your health, and that's Athletic Greens. Just one scoop in your cup of water every morning, and you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and more to help you start your day off right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Almost ran out of fingers there counting those on my two hands because there's so many benefits. It's lifestyle friendly. So whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it's all good. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, no artificial anything, while still tasting great. It's going to cost you less than $3 a day to invest in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit, getting your coffee every day. This is cheaper and better for you. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. So guys, right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially in these times. It's just one scoop in your cup of water every day. That's it. There's no need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance from Athletic Greens.
All right, Pilsy. So the Ottawa Senators are on the ice for their 3-on-3 tournament at development camp. We'll see if we can have an update or two by the end of the show. Tomorrow, we're going to argue which top 4 defensemen on the trade market could be the best fit for Ottawa. Hoping to have a special guest, whether it's tomorrow or later on next week. Lots of great content coming up here throughout the offseason on Locked On Senators. Available on all platforms, including on YouTube. Really trying to get to that 3,000 subscriber milestone. Certainly helped that the vibes were as high as they were yesterday. The Senators making their biggest splash in free agency since at least 2004 when Dominic Hasek signed. Now with Claude Giroux, it's not a 1-year contract. This is Claude Giroux coming in on a 3-year term. $19.5 million is the total value. 6.5 annual average. He's making $7 million this upcoming season, $7 million the next year, and then $5 million in the final year of that contract. Now, we're going to get to the lines in just a moment, but are you pretty confident where he's going to start on opening day?
I've got it written in pen where he's starting. I just think it makes the most sense. At least I think that's where he should start and see if things work out. If not, well, DJ Smith has a good problem to have, having too many good forwards to move around up and down his lineup. So I'm not worried about where he ends up.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense to put him with Tim Stützle, though, because of that added help in the face-off dot. I know you're going to be fired up talking about Claude Giroux's face-off ability all season long. Big face-off guy, Brandon Piller. Okay, well, I mean, we pretty much covered it from all angles yesterday, just about how this is a guy still playing elite level hockey. He's a thinker of the game, great hockey IQ, elite playmaker, a guy who is just going to add so much on 5-on-5 and on the power play as well. He seems like the perfect guy, especially at the stage in his career where he's probably going to be the guy who's on the second power play unit and getting as many touches as he can on that one. With all certainty, I'll say he's going to be wearing a letter all of next season as well. Especially, they literally just have to change the nameplate on Connor Brown's jersey from what he had this year, number 28.
And that's an upgrade I'll accept.
Yeah, there you go. So Claude Giroux's wife posting on Twitter, Ryan Giroux, putting out that the jersey has been delivered. Number 28, Claude Giroux jersey is officially available. I'm sure those will be flying off the shelves over the next couple months and beyond. So you've got them in pen with the Brinkett and Stützle. You're leaving the top line together. We'll pull it up here. Enough of the teasing. And then this third line, like, what would you think about Pinto playing between the two speed demons in Alex Formenton and Mathieu Joseph?
I love it. Pinto is, I think he's slated to be a perfect third line center. He's got two-way responsibility. Hopefully with a guy like Claude Giroux coming in here, he can work on his face-offs at the NHL level. And then having someone like Formenton that's so damn fast and can just move the puck up ice and transition with ease. And then having someone with the vision and creativity that we saw Mathieu Joseph have in the small amount of time he's played in Ottawa really works out here. Like, that is, Ross, we used to have a running joke of when we talked about Senators players, all their top 6 guys were like, oh, he's a good third line player. But we had 9 guys that we labeled as good third line players. Now we can legitimately say Formenton, Pinto, and Joseph are good third line players, and those are our third line players. So I like this forward group is perfect. Like, chef's kiss to this forward group. I wouldn't change a damn thing.
Yeah, and I put the asterisk beside Mark Kaslick's name. So just to run through, if you're just listening, we've got Norris between Tkachuk and Batherson, Stützle between Alex DeBrincat and Claude Giroux. I had to pause. Like, that just sounds so nice.
Yeah,
and then the third line, Shane Pinto between Alex Formenton and Mathieu Joseph. And then for us, we've got the fourth line as Mark Kastelik between Parker Kelly and Austin Watson. A little bit of sandpaper there on the fourth line, a shift disturber as well. On defense, Chabot and, I think that's the tidy piece of business left for Pierre Dorion this offseason. We've got Sanderson Zub. I just think that playing Zub with Sanderson would just be such a perfect way to ease him into full-time NHL duty. And on the third pair, I got a little this or that here with Nick Holden or Eric Brandstrom on the left side with Travis Hamonic on the right. And again, if Hamonic the odd man out, Holden we know can play the right side a little bit as well. We saw that. We saw Brandy on the right side a little bit. So I think that third pair is pretty interchangeable right now. And who knows? Maybe one of them is used in the trade to upgrade, because right now you're looking at a situation where Zaitsev's still there too. So right now, if they add a defenseman and don't give up one, that's 8 NHL defensemen on one-way contracts. Probably something that Pierre Dorion would like to stay away from. In goal, Forsberg and Cam Talbot. Nice to add Cam Talbot's name to this list. He's going to be on TSN 1200 this morning. It'll be nice to hear his thoughts on joining the Ottawa Senators. But certainly this looks like a very upgraded team than what we saw in Game 82 last year in Philadelphia.
Yeah, a big-time upgrade, that's for sure. And yeah, the big question mark is not if, but when is Pierre Dorion going to acquire another defenseman, and who is that going to be that's going to play beside Chabot? Because I know you're maybe on a different side of this, but I don't see a world where Brandy doesn't get the opportunity to play on that third pair. So I really see, if we're setting it up like this, Holden's the odd man out here, and Brandy would be playing with Hamonic on that third pair. And you have to at least give Brandy an opportunity to play to either A, increase his trade value, or B, just see what you got out of him, because he needs to be given that opportunity.
Chabot missed 20 games. Like, he had his opportunity. We said it himself. He did okay.
But do you believe do you still believe Brandstrom is a top 4 defenseman?
No.
So I don't think him playing a top pair role was appropriate for him, and not necessarily setting him up for success, because we did that. We gave him that opportunity. It didn't quite work out. But I think if you have him on a third pair where he can jump onto a second power play unit, I think he could have success there. So that's why in this situation, I want to see him play a full season, because he's only had half seasons, been up and down, had injuries, coming into camp late with COVID things going on. So this will be a season where it's like, okay, you don't have that big expectations on you to be a top 4 guy anymore. Just play your game on that third pair. get your touches with Travis Hamnick. He's going to be able to defer to you when it comes to rushing the puck up the ice. And we'll see how it goes from there, because probably he's going to be on a short-term deal once they get his RFA status sorted out here with the contract. So I know I love Holden, and I don't want to push him out of the lineup here, but if they're acquiring another defenseman, he's a guy in his late 30s that signed a quick and easy one-year deal. He's someone that I wouldn't mind coming in and out of the lineup if that needed to happen, because Brandy needs to play. He needs to play.
Well, for me, the reason why Nick Holden's in is because Jake Sanderson, you can use him as kind of a security blanket, because we saw Holden and Zub play a lot together last year. So if it is a tough matchup, or if it is a back-to-back, and let's say Sanderson, I mean, it's a lot to ask for a 20-year-old guy who turned 20 literally last week. Like, this guy is as fresh as they come here, coming into the NHL, and also hasn't played since February because of the Olympics, and that's where he got hurt. So,
but I think Sanderson relishes in that opportunity, right? Like, he's not a guy when he was going to the Olympics or when he was going to be a massive part of that USA World Juniors team where he's like, oh, this is a little bit too much for me, guys. He's the kind of guy who's like, I want to lead Nodak to a championship. And then when I'm done, or in between that, I want to win gold for USA World Juniors. And I'm going to try to squeeze in winning gold for the US Olympic team. Like, he's not a guy who kind of cowers at a big opportunity or having a bunch of pressure put on him. So I'm not too worried about that.
All right, well, time will tell here. We know that the decor is still under construction, something we'll be talking about a lot here in the next month on Locked On Senators. Quickly before we move off, Hockey Canada, we know, pooched the sexual assault allegation investigation back in 2018, 2019. Rick Westhead was reporting on that a little while ago. And then Hockey Canada, talk about being reactive, but also trying to put it not under the carpet. They've done that in the past, but for putting it out on free agency day, an open letter where there's so much news going on, but they're reopening the investigation into the alleged sexual assault by 8 members of the 2018 national junior team. Obviously the details of this are gross and disgusting. And anyone who has a daughter or anyone period should really just know that it can't be in society, let alone the game of hockey. So we're going to keep you posted on that as things come out, but I guess it's a step in the right direction. It just feels so too little too late now, 4 years later.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, right? Like, they should have done the right thing for the right reasons when at the time this was brought up, and not when they lost sponsorships, not when they had the Prime Minister of Canada drop funding, not when it was a massive story and people were outraged. So, you know what? I'm not gonna fault them for trying to do the right thing. It's never a bad time to do the right thing, but you should be doing the right thing for the right reasons, and that's where this is not a great look for them.
Yeah, and I mean, Sens fans are gonna be very interested to know, because we're not putting any blame on anybody until things come out, because
we're not about to do any sort of speculations or anything.
The only guy we know 100,000% was not there was Victor Mete, because Buddy was partnering it up in Jamaica, wasn't even at the event. That to say, there were 2 members of the Ottawa Senators who were on that team, in Alex Formanton and Drake Batherson, and we'll leave that conversation there until more information comes. Again, Rick Westhead's the guy to follow for this. We'll be reactive, and we're not Hockey Canada. We're not in their shoes, so we can be reactive, and we'll wait for the facts to come out here, but we'll keep following that along right here. But also coming up today, we've got the 3-on-3 scrimmage we mentioned too, a couple standouts from Dev Camp, but also let's reboot after free agency day 1, because who had Johnny Hockey going to Columbus? Let's get into all that coming up right here after a quick word, Pilsy, you got from one of our favorite sponsors.
And Ross, if there were odds to bet on would Johnny Hockey land in Columbus, that would be very interesting. That would be something I want to get my hands on. But when you sign a long-term deal, you want to make sure you're fueled up, and going to Columbus, he's going to have a lot on his plate, so he's going to want some Built Bars to go along with them, because summer is coming. He's going to want to bulk up. He's going to want to be a guy that can show all those Columbus Blue Jackets fans that he can provide what they need with that contract and back it up. And the best part about it is he's going to be eating protein bars that are healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to Built.com and order right now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% chocolate. That means with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and enjoy doing it. The Built Puffs are awesome, guys. Do you like marshmallows? Yeah, everyone likes marshmallows, but they're not exactly good for you. Wait a sec. How about protein-infused marshmallows? That's what I'm talking about. Only Built Bar does something like that because they focus on making it taste good and then find out how to make it healthy. There's high protein, high fiber, but on the other hand, low calorie, low sugar. That's what you want from a protein bar. So go to Built.com, get all your favorites. They have brownie flavors, coconut, peanut butter, double chocolate. They're all delicious and new flavors are coming out all the time. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your next order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
All right, Pilsy, congratulations. Your son has signed. Rudolph Balcers is going to the Florida Panthers. He'll be joining Colin White down in the Sunshine State. That coming across the wire here early on Thursday morning. But lots of bigger signings than that across the National Hockey League. Yesterday, yeah, if you can imagine, bigger signings than that. Where do you want to start with all this? I mean, the Ottawa Senators, I guess we should start with the Ottawa Senators making a trio of minor league signings, 2 re-signings. Yes. Scott Sabourin, the investment protector, will be back on a 1-year, 2-way contract. Same with Jake Lucini.
Yes.
We definitely have to give a round of applause here for Jake Lucini because he was on a 1-way AHL deal last season, not even a 2-way. So now he gets official affiliation with the Ottawa Senators. He was the leading scorer for Belleville last year. And just like the Toronto Marlies stole Logan Shaw from Belleville, Ottawa takes back a Toronto Marlies defenseman in Christians Rubens on a 2-way, 1-year contract.
You see the size on that kid, Ross?
No, what is he?
6'5", 215 pounds, if I remember correctly. That is a big Latvian kid, left shot defenseman.
Only 24 years old. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to relish in the Lucini signing a little bit more because
Before you get off, because I don't think we're going to get back to Rubens. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, that's fair.
He's played 3 NHL games, so he did get a cup of coffee in the National Hockey League. So good on him. 11 points in 58 games. I'd say he's a depth AHL defenseman at this part, but he is also a Kelly Cup champion with the Newfoundland Growlers. I know we've got a few Newfies who listen, so he was a part of their championship run back in 2019. But yes, a very much stay-at-home defensive defenseman that you could see on a third pair down in Belleville. All right, go off on Jake Lucini.
The fact that he was just brought in, I think, did they trade a 5th-round pick for him or something? It was something very minimal, or it was something that just kind of slid under the radar, and it was like this Jake Lucini guy, who knows about him?
No, I mean, you couldn't even. It was Belleville acquiring him from Laval for future considerations because there couldn't be any draft picks because he wasn't even a member of the Ottawa Senators organization. Like, he was on a one, right? He wasn't even available to be called up.
Did we find out what those future considerations are, or they're still being considered?
They're being considered. I think they will be forever.
And we joked tongue-in-cheek about when the Leafs said they're rebuilding Galchenyuk. The Belleville Senators legitimately rebuilt Jake Lucini because he had a couple seasons in the AHL. His best season was 15 points in 53 games. With the Belleville Senators, he had 51 points in 72 games. Like, awesome. He just exploded onto the scene, and it was a running thing that anytime the Sens were having success, you could count on Lucini and Uncle Deli, we got to throw him in there, putting up points to help them win games. And I'm really glad that they didn't let this one slip away because they let Logan Shaw slip away, which I was sad to see, especially because he went to Sens lover Kyle Dubas's team.
Hey, longest serving captain in Belleville Sens history, 2 seasons.
Yeah, and we had his dad, Gerard Shaw, on the show. It was a great interview. So it was sad to see him go because I felt he played a good role. Andrew Agazzino left as well, and I think there's one more guy that I'm forgetting that also went to the Marlies. But It's just tough
Probably.
to see those guys kind of move along because the Belleville Senators, they made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, and those players were a big part of it. Those are your fringe AHL, NHL players that are so crucial to have because you can't have a team. We saw it the year before, where it's a team of just prospects running around, and you can't have that. I mean, that was the shortened COVID season with no playoffs, so whatever. There's not a whole lot on the line, but still, you need to support those prospects with veteran guys, and
Sure.
I thought they did a good job of that. But Pierre Dorion, this is not the offseason of last where his main focuses were shoring up Belleville's roster. So those things will trickle in sooner, and I'm excited to see who ends up coming around this time.
Yeah, no question. We'll I'm sure have those come in throughout the offseason. So obviously we love covering the Belleville Sens. Pilsy and I got to spend a couple years working all the home games there, which was a ton of fun. So always a soft spot for the Belleville Senators, especially coming into next season. I think it's going to be a good second wave of prospects coming in here with Lodine having a full season, Ridley Gregg, and all that. They also
don't forget about Crooker. Crooker's coming back. Crooker's going to have a big year. Everyone hold on to that because it's happening.
All right, I love it. I'm here for the Angus Crookshank redemption tour. Xavier Bernard also brought back on a 2-way contract. Same with Matthew Wedman, a couple of depth AHL signings. Those guys, I think, could also spend a little time in Atlanta throughout the year. All right, couple quick touches on some big, notable free agents. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers continue to be the Leafs West. They add Jack Campbell to an already Leaf-centric roster that has Tyson Barrie, that has Zach Hyman, and I'm probably missing a couple there.
Cody Ceci.
There you go. No doubt. So they get their goalie, and with all that, the goalie market shakes and shimmies, and the Maple Leafs, they doubled down. They get Ilya Samsonov, who I guess is going to push Matt Murray
Murray with Jonathan Tavares.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, Giroux's better than Tavares, but we'll touch on that later this offseason. We'll have some fun with that. But I think who do you think the biggest winner is? Let's do it that way.
Gotta be the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, even though it's signing Goody to a 4x4 deal makes Ross.
Remember what I said on the live stream though? That's money coming back to the Ottawa economy eventually.
True. Investing in Ottawa.
Go.
Yeah. But that's Ross. As soon as I saw that deal, I was like, when's the buyout? Are they gonna buy him out now?
What if he's like the Jack Johnson to Sidney Crosby, where he's like, yeah, you sign me, I'll get you Johnny.
Yeah, okay, fair. I mean, that's a small price to pay to get Johnny Gaudreau, because the fact that he went to the Columbus Blue Jackets, a franchise that has they have one playoff series win?
Yeah, I mean, they swept the best team maybe the last decade, which is pretty cool.
But when that's the only banner you can put up in your
no
arena,
banner for that. They're not the Nashville Predators.
Yeah, but that's the best accomplishment. The Nashville Predators have much more accomplishments than that.
I know, but they put up banners for everything.
Yeah. But the fact that Johnny Hockey, easily the top free agent, he had 114 points, 115 points. I'm selling him short. Jeez, what am I doing? The fact that he chose Columbus of all places. But it's interesting, Ross, because I didn't think Columbus was in a spot where they thought they could make this kind of move yet. But when you're them and this is the biggest move in franchise history, really, you do it whether the time is right or not. So congrats to Johnny Hockey getting a big deal. And it's crazy because the reports are that Calgary offered more money on an eight-year deal because they were able to do that.
He left $15 million off the table.
And then New Jersey, who I would have said was a better landing spot for him, also offered north of $9 million, so a similar contract, and he turned that down as well. And then the Islanders were oh, really? Wow.
Devils, yeah.
So and the Islanders missed out on him as well, and he chose Columbus out of all those places. So Blue Jackets fans, congrats, but they have a lot of work to do because Kekalainen mentioned the plan is still 100% to re-sign Patrick Laine, and I believe they only have $4 million of cap space right now. So they're going to be looking to move some players to get Laine and Gaudreau as their kind of 1-2 punch. So that's going to be interesting to watch going forward.
Yeah, and they've drafted really well, too, recently. Look at Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger up front, and there's Chinikov as well. I'm sure Locked On Blue Jackets is having a ball with all of their moves because that's a win-now mentality. And it's awesome to see that the two teams that spent the most money on day one of free agency were the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Ottawa Senators. It's cool. I mean, we know that there is a bit of a cap crunch with it staying flat for the third straight season. So
Well,
a
no,
lot of
it
teams,
went up. It went up, but I mean barely. It went up
barely.
by 1.2%.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Sorry.
that's like $1 million.
Just like you sold Johnny Gaudreau short, I'm selling the cap short going up
Yeah.
just like that. But it does feel like a little bit more of an even playing field. So I'm excited to watch. Like a top line, if you flank Kent Johnson with Line and Gaudreau, like
Woo.
they could be a fun
That's
team to
fun.
watch.
Yeah.
Undercover, fun team to watch. The Columbus Blue Jackets out. No, they're in the Eastern Conference. They used to be in the West, didn't they? Or am I crazy?
Yeah. They used to be in that conference with like Nashville and
Thank you.
St. Louis
Okay.
and stuff, I think.
Thank you. I felt like I was taking crazy pills there for a moment. But okay, so you got the Columbus Blue Jackets as your winner. I'll tell you the losers, the Florida Panthers, because they got
Really?
themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They lost not only Claude Giroux, and I know they did their best to
Sign
replace him.
Rudolph Balcers. Come
I know.
on.
But not only that, dude, they lost out on Mason Marchment, who was undercover, like an unbelievable player. Wasn't he a 50, 60-point guy there?
Yeah, but I don't consider the Panthers losers because they still have an incredible top 9.
Right, but I'll
even stretch it to top 9.
They could have been better. They just lost a guy who had 47 points in 54 games. That's almost a point per game off their lineup.
Barkov's new contract kicks in this season, Ross. They didn't have many options.
Right, fair, and they might still not. And this is where the Keith Yandel buyout looms large. I think they're paying him $4 million to not play for them. Now, was he really helping them? That's another story for another day. But you look at where the Uyghur conversation goes. Like, this is a Florida Panthers team.
And Huberdeau's deal is up, and he's gonna get probably almost double what he's making now. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I got them. Yeah, it's pretty questionable. And then the New Jersey Devils, they were going to be. I love Andre Palat, but at the same time, that's a big money deal. What was it? 5 years, $6 million per?
Yep, 30 mil.
It's a lot of money. Who's your loser then?
Okay, you didn't take either of mine. My biggest loser is the Calgary Flames, easily, because not only, like, I was about to start off with losing Goody. They lose Gaudreau. I'll start off with that. That's massive. Then they lose Goody off their D-court. As far as I know, did they add anyone? No one of notable existence here. And then remember, how the tables have turned. Remember when Brady Tkachuk was in the playoffs stands watching his brother in the playoffs, and everyone was like, imagine how Brady feels, like hoping his team can get there, and Matthew is the big brother performing in the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. Imagine how Matthew Tkachuk feels now. Johnny Gaudreau just chose Columbus over Calgary. He's sitting there, RFA, and Brady just added DeBrincat, Talbot, and Claude Giroux to his team. Like, what a flip they signed right there.
They signed Clark Bishop. That's probably the other guy that you forgot to mention that Belleville lost.
I think it is. Yeah, the fifth centerman. That was the reason the Ottawa Senators only won one game in November. But Calgary, big losers. Like, they had something going this year, and now they're kind of falling apart. And Vancouver is shoring up rather than gearing down. So that division's going to get harder. Edmonton is solidifying. Like, it's not getting any easier there. So I don't know what they're going to do there. And then my second biggest loser is the Islanders. I mean, you lose out on Gaudreau. Trading for Romanov, I don't know about that one. And this is a team that already they had a terrible season last year, and they're not getting better. They're only getting older. They have contracts that are questionable. I don't know what's going to happen there with Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, and then another interesting conversation. Again, later this offseason, we're going to have the boys on from Locked On Red Wings, but they made a ton of moves. They spent money. They got Andrew Kopp for 5 years. Great deal. Got David Perron for a 2-year contract.
That was a weird one to me. What do you think about Perron going there for 2 years?
Well, apparently he never got an official offer from St. Louis, and he's still a pretty solid
He'll trade
player.
for him at the deadline, as they always do. He always comes back.
No doubt. Dominic Kubalik, I like that on a 2-year term as well, but on D, I think that they got worse, if that was possible. That was a D-core that wasn't that great, and they added like probably 2 of the most overpaid defensemen in the league, and Ben Sherratt and my favorite, Oli Mata. So it'll be interesting to see. It seemed like Stevie Y was trying to go step for step with the Sens here, as they're 2 teams that are trying to work their way up in the Atlantic Division. So yeah, lots to break down, and we'll continue to do so here on Locked On Senators. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to Shane Ryan on Twitter. He put out a mock-up of a reverse retro potential jersey for the Ottawa Senators. Pilsy, this can be your first time seeing this. What are your thoughts? This is absolutely stunning right here for the Ottawa Senators, going back to that parliamentary logo that they never actually wore in a game.
Yeah, it's so weird that they never wore that when that was like their grand opening kind of marketing image. Do I think it's stunning and do I love it? No, but it's cool and it's fun and it's a nod to the past. So I'm into it. But I definitely don't think.
Would you take this
that
or would you
incredible.
prefer a version of the Senegoth?
Oh, give me Senegoth all day.
Really?
Yeah,
All right.
but this is fun and I like the nod to the past. But there's a reason they didn't go with that with their jersey. Let's just say that.
All right. Pilsy bringing me back down to earth. I actually really like it. I think for a reverse retro, it'd be solid. Now that's the
guy
same.
though, so that means a lot more to you than it does to me.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's going to be white though. That's the thing. You probably want to make it red, right? Because you got a white jersey, you got a black jersey. But like, how much more can they do with the red unless they go full? Well, no. What if they go? What if they go full? Like throwback Senegoth with the black like MS Paint splash right down the middle.
If they do that, I need the golden laurels on the bottom.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll get back to this conversation later on in the summer, but we appreciate everyone making Locked On Senators your first listen each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. We got scheduling update coming tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Plus, as I mentioned, we're working on a special guest, seeing whether tomorrow, I'd say probably most likely next week, but we do have a debate to get into tomorrow. Pilsy and I are on different sides of which defenseman the Senators should target to fill out that top four. But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.